Yo, what's going on, guys? I just wanted to do an update on DTIL. This is one that we've played a long time ago, and although that a lot of things happened since then, and it was a short-lived pump, of course, and it was nothing that I was planning on happening as far as how short-lived it was. It was a trade alert that I put out, and it had a fucking insane run. And I just want to talk about everything that happened here. So basically, all right, let's see where was this big run that we had here. Might be easier to find on the weekly. I do have a video on it if you want to go back and take a look. And I think it was based off of... Let me just take a look here. I don't have any of my lines here anymore drawn in here. It might have been something like that, possibly. But we played this thing. Was it here? It was something like... Not very prepared, guys. Sorry. Yeah, I think it was something like... Because it was right around 11... So, I mean, I think I had my lines drawn in something like this or something of the sort where 11:30 was the breakout. Somewhere around here, right? So we had this trade alert here that if it closed the daily above 11:30 or $11, that we had a target of up in the $23 area here. Okay, so this was my potential target, was way up here off of the breakout of this pattern. And of course, like I said, was that, things don't just go straight up, obviously. But, whoops. And, there'll be ups and downs. So, needless to say, the pattern going on... I can't even remember how I drew my lines here, honestly, right now. So I might have something different. But either way, we had a breakout target of $23, and it went up and it hit after hours. It actually went up to like $18. But all of this happened in basically like a matter of a couple days. And, this thing is a fucking powerhouse when it does break out. So it ran up from this 11:30 area here that we entered, and it ran all the way up here, which on the chart's showing 1650. Okay, so it ran up here. And then once it touched there, it had a massive, massive dump here, and it came all the way back down to 1130. And then it came up and tried to hit this $16 again, and it found resistance right here for a double top. And it ended up coming all the way back down here. And then, we tried to make a play from here to this point here, and it didn't really work out, obviously, because it fell right back down. Because in my opinion, it was making it's in another pattern here, another consolidation pattern, on top of the initial breakout of this large pattern. So if you see what I have drawn here, I actually used this curve tool here and showed the beautiful structure of this beautiful rounding bottom here that's going on. So, I mean, I wouldn't really call it a cup and handle or anything like that. But zooming in here at what's happening, we can actually look at a closer view here on the hourly, because this is going to show us a lot here. So where we are right now is it looks like we're creating this beautiful double bottom here, and we're inside of this massive falling wedge. So obviously this has been a very, very strong resistance here for us. Every time we come up and touch it, we get rejected and we fall all the way back down. We come up and touch it and either fall all the way back down or or we break out, right? So where are we right now? Well, we're about to get a golden cross on the hourly here. We are in what looks to be a potential rising channel, maybe, or a bull pennant here, right? Because we have a great pull coming up here, been catching a lot of resistance on this upper line here. And then we just created this spinning top right here because we have indecision, because people know that when we get to this point, of course, I don't even have my line drawn in, so let me draw that perfectly, because I could be seeing something a little bit. Let me just see where we're at in this right here. And it makes sense why this thing hasn't been moving much, because I've been keeping my eyes on it, and I have a couple option calls on it personally, because I'm like, this thing's going to be getting ready to go. So as of right now, we had this hourly candle close right outside of the resistance point, but then we ended up closing right inside here, came back down, tested this bottom line. So we're pinched right in between these two trend lines here, between this potential rising channel or bull pennant and this upper trend line. So we're really going to have to make a decision here if we're going to break out or if we're going to break down here. So obviously there's a couple different ways we can look at it here. And, looking at the RSI, it does sort of look like it's rolling over here. So, there's definitely some potential possibilities of this, not being the time just yet. And that's something we're definitely going to want to keep our eyes on. It's rolling on the 45-minute here, and it does kind of look like it could come back down potentially. And if we were looking at this instead of looking at it like that, we could look at it in a different sense here and say that from this point to this point, I guess we could go off of that. From this point to that point, and where else? What else would I do from? This is, it's a little bit of a choppy action here, so it's a little bit tough to say, because obviously this here, we could break it down a little bit here, maybe make it more simple. Yeah, I think that's what we'd want to do. So if we look at it like this, then you have a small, actually not that small, but this could actually be a bull pennant as well. So that kind of looks like a bull pennant there. So if this was a bull pennant, which, we definitely didn't hit the bull pennant mark, so we're going to take a couple different measurements. If we had a bull pennant here, obviously we could run up to 1250. And if it's just a normal pennant or falling wedge here, then that might have been the target that we just hit here. Let's take a look. We didn't quite hit that target just yet. Pretty close, though. That target would have been 11.99. We hit 11.86. So, really, it's tough to say, depending on which way you look at it. If it is heading up here, it could still come back down here to test this 11.56. It could, drop here and come back down to this point, create another W or a cup and handle, a smaller cup and handle. But, it's something to keep your eyes on here. Now, obviously, you have the sell volume and this trend reversal potential candle. And as you see in the past, when we usually get up to this trend line, we do get rejected here in that sense here. And, obviously, if we did get rejected and it was like, hey, this isn't our time, then obviously you have a pretty good downside. So it's something that when I'm going to put on the radar, because we want to keep our eyes on this and we want to see if it's going to be able to break any type of levels here. But, we're going to have strong resistance up here at 1208 as well. So, depending on how you'd want to play this, if you're already in this or if you're just kind of thinking about it, looking for a new play here, we might want to keep our eyes on this level here and see if we can flag out on top of here, get some consolidation, even if we come down here before maybe making another W. Just something to keep on the radar here, because, whether or not we do something like that, or if we back test this and head out, or if we drop down here again and then head out, or if we come all the way, there's like 10 different things that could happen, and that's just kind of how it is in technical analysis and in charts, of course, right? There's always a up and there's a downside here. So something that we want to watch here, though, looking on this 4-hourly, is we got a MACD cross, and we created this beautiful rounding bottom, and then now we're kind of coming up, and it almost looks like it wants to just come back up and test this line again, even if we have some short-term downside here and there. Now, as of right now on this 4-hourly, we didn't get much volume here, but we did just get a break of this pennant looking at it like this, which we just went over, right? So we got this beautiful break here, but not much volume. So that could be a fake. So depending on what it does here, it could come back down and test this 1123, depending on what it wants to do. But I just want to keep this one on the radar here because, you know, when this thing does take off, it takes the fuck off. And, you know, you can see here, this beautiful breakout runs just like straight up here. You know, every time it breaks out of a pattern, it goes up with some great volume. So this is one that we're going to keep our eyes peeled on and try to catch it on a break. So, I mean, let me just take a fib retracement level and see if we have any signs of some potential resistances or support areas to watch for really quickly, because let me see where I would take this fib retracement from. Let me go on the weekly here real quick and see where we're at. Yeah, I guess I'll go off of I'm going to go from right here. So where is my fib retracements? Right here. So we're going to go from this swing low to this swing high and see if we're catching any support or resistance on any fib levels here. So if we go down to the daily here, we can see that as of right now, we're getting perfect resistance. Well, what are we doing? Are we getting resistance anywhere? So we're pretty much getting perfect resistance here at the 0.382 of 1198. So that's going to be the level that we want to get a nice confirmed close above, and we want to see ourselves getting, you know, whether you want to do an hour. I mean, obviously, this is a daily close. We double topped there. So it's just, we have to be very cautious here, obviously, because you can see what can happen here. But that's why you use your stop losses. So if I was gonna enter this thing, which I said I already have option calls, I did some option calls down here for, you know, some $14 calls or something, or I forget exactly what I did. But if we were gonna do an entry on this here, and we have massive volume on the daily and stuff, so it's not like even with that short volume on the 4-hourly, that's just the indecision time, because obviously you can see these spinning tops and it's like, you know, everyone's trying to figure out, are we breaking out here? Is this the time? But it sure looks like we're trying to make a nice break here that could bring us up into some, you know, pretty good levels up here. And, you know, if we wanted to change this fib a little bit, well, I don't really want to, because I think it screws with some of my levels here, but we could do something like that and just go off of this other peak here, which is going to be some strong resistance. So, and if that's the case, then 1148 is the 0.382. You know, it's kind of tough to say. But that being said, if that was the case here, then we actually got this daily close right above here. So, I mean, it's tough to say, really, which way, if I would go off of that further peak or off of that. And that's actually a big thing here. But if we look over here on the left, you can actually see that this actually would make sense here, because we had the spinning top and it came down, perfect test on here. When we had this close, we perfectly closed on top of this 0.382. When we fell down here, we got perfect support there with the body. And then once we actually fell through this level, that was when we had a crazy dump. So we're kind of testing the same level. And then looking over here, we had many touches perfectly on this 0.382. So I do actually like the placement of this now that I'm looking back at the trend here. So let's go off of those wicks instead. And then same with the touches up here. You can see we perfectly touched this 0.236 level as well when we're creating this potential W here. So that's where I'm going with then. So that being said, you know, if you were anxious to get in this, which, you know, you never want to trade with emotions, but if you were anxious to get in here, you would look for a potential back test of this 1148 here and see if it's going to continue to hold here and see how we open up, because we could actually get a beautiful candle here tomorrow, depending on if we want to break this or not. We would actually back test this maybe 1148, 1150 area. Is that what I said it was? Yeah, 1150 area, and we could actually get a beautiful break here. So we definitely want to keep this one on the radar here. So like I said, I have some option calls on it, and I actually am down in them right now, but that's probably just from the decision, the indecision going on. So we'll have to see how this plays out here. But definitely looks like we could come up and we could be running up here. Looking at the daily right now, though, it is rolling. It did have a little notch over here on the RSI, like it wants to roll right here. So, I mean, I think that's just where all our decisions coming from. So, a couple things we're going to have to keep our eyes on there. But if we were to make an entry in here, you would enter if we can confirm that we're catching support on this 1148 level, and then you would have to have a stop loss down here below this 1014. That would be the play right there. And you can see that we have wicked below it in the past, and if we were to come back down here and we wicked below this and we had a big market pullback here, then the next level down would be below there. But based off of this rounding structure here, I would think that we would not be coming below that again, even though there's times where we do wick below it. This would be, to me, a place that you don't want to go below. So you could even, whether you wanted to put your stop loss at 1014, or if you wanted to take a chance to put your stop loss below this curve here is at 1040. But for me personally, if I was entering, I wouldn't trust the curve as much. I would trust the fib line. So I'd put my stop loss probably around like 1002 or something like that. And, to me, that's a very, very high reward setup here, especially if we are going to come up and potentially test this $16 range again. So you got to run from $11.48 to $16 on hand. Of course, you're going to catch some resistance at $13.14, and it could come up, test it, maybe falling channel back down, retest, bounce again. So you could do a short swing maybe from 11.48 to 13.14, depending on how that works out. But if you wanted to put a long trade in, I would wait for some breaks of this and some big volume here to confirm it, of course. But this is just something to keep on the radar, because if you look on the hourly, we already did actually get this set up here where we confirmed it and we bounced off it. So even if we did drop here short term, we'd probably come back down and make sure that we're really going to hold this level and get this small little bounce off of here if we did drop here, and then we'd have that break. So we want to keep this one on the radar, guys, because I see some big shit coming right here for this thing. And just keep stop losses and, consider some of these entry prices. I'm going to do the same. But, that's all I got for you there. But this one could be another beast of a move right here. So that's what I got. Peace.